Good afternoon, Chris. How are you?
I am fantastic.
Thank you. I'd like to ask you a few questions about the Rural Transportation Collaborative, which is known as RTC, the Mileage-Based Volunteer Driving Program. First of all, tell me about what you do for RTC.
Besides being their #1 cheerleader and recruiter, and I'm a driver, a volunteer driver.
What made you decide to volunteer with the RTC program?
What really started me is I was driving a friend several different times down to her appointments in Mayo, and she told me that her sister could have driven her, but they didn't want to let a family member, they wouldn't pay a family member gas. And so I said, well, isn't there a company? And she said, well, there's RTC, but they said they thought they didn't need any drivers for our area, so she wouldn't qualify, and that's where they left it.
Interesting. So what motivated you to become a driver for RTC?
I'm rather contrary, as my husband would tell you. That irritated me tremendously, so I called RTC and said, do you need drivers? And I was told, yes, we do. We always need drivers. And when I told her where I lived, she was very happy to hear that, because she said we desperately needed people in that area.
Correct. Side note on that, we need drivers everywhere, so thank you. What do you hope to get out of volunteering for the RTC program?
I'm a firm believer that God blesses what you give away, blesses back. And so I'm hoping that when that day comes for me, that I need the transportation, or I need someone to listen to me as we're driving to a doctor appointment, there'll be somebody available. So in the meantime, it's me.
What is your greatest strength that you think you have, and does it help you to volunteer for the RTC program?
My husband thinks all I do is talk, but I actually believe my husband is also an RTC driver. Let me put that out there. I actually believe that I'm a good listener, and sometimes that's all they need. They may be going for an appointment they're terrified of, or they may be going to just some regular thing, because we drive for all kinds of reasons. But they sometimes just need to have someone listen. And I feel like I can do that. I'm not always quiet about what they tell me. I want to give them some advice, but I do try to temper what that is.
And what is your biggest reward you get as volunteering with the RTC program?
My personal reward is it makes me feel really good when I find out that this person has requested me to be their driver the next time. And that happens fairly often, and I really like that.
One other question. Was it hard to become qualified as a volunteer driver? Did it take a lot of time?
Well, that lady that I talked to immediately sent me a packet. I filled it out, wasn't difficult, basically needed to prove I had a driver's license, sign a paper allowing them to do a background check, and since I hadn't killed anybody or had a bad accident, they allowed me to drive. Actually, I had no record that they had to search, so it was just fine. It's very easy, and even if you think you only want to drive once a week or once a month, get your paperwork signed and be available for that odd call that they get, because sometimes it's short notice and most times it's long notice, and you can always say no.
Well, thank you, Chris, for the few moments of your time today.
You're welcome.